I'm Dr. Neil Payne.
And I'm Kirk Lyons, and this is All Things Confederate for the week of March 15th, 2012.
Well, Kirk, why don't you tell us about where y'all were Monday?
Yes, the Baz Childress trial was supposed to be called on Monday. As you might remember, the Baz Childress case goes back to 2008 in Concord, Cabarrus County, North Carolina. In 2008, the National Sons of Confederate Veterans Reunion was held in Concord, and Baz Childress, who was Lieutenant Commander of Kentucky Division, had rented a room at the Wingate Hotel in Concord for the John Hunt Morgan Hospitality Suite. And Neil, as you know, the John Hunt Morgan room has gone back many years at the SCV reunions. It's always been kind of the pinnacle of some of the entertaining that goes on.
Right.
A much sought after venue, and that's where a lot of politicking, a lot of deal making, a lot of electioneering goes on in a convivial atmosphere with bourbon, Kentucky bourbon, of course. And this was the legacy of Kirk Carter, who was one of our good friends. And he hasn't been able to attend the reunion in the last few years. And in 2008, Baz took that on.
Right.
He rented the room, signed the registration agreement, and went up to his room just to decorate it. And he put a Army of Trans-Mississippi flag up, and they hung a Confederate flag in the window.
Right. And the hotel knew that this was part of the convention.
Right. As a matter of fact, they got a preferred the members of the reunion got a preferred rate. The Cabarrus County Convention Center, who was the host venue for the reunion, had worked with the local SCV camp there and gave everybody preferred rates that wanted to sign on. And the Wingate accepted the preferred rate deal, so Baz checked the list, saw the Wingate, he liked Wingate Hotel, so he booked a room there. And
used to like Wingate.
Yeah. Right. So he got a larger room because, historically the John Hunt Morgan room has just been a bedroom, packed to the gills with people, and he wanted a little breathing room, so he got a full suite. And, of course, that was going to be his room for the weekend. Well, he hadn't had the flag up long before he got a call from the assistant general manager who said, take the flag down. And he said, why? And she said, well, because of sensitivity issues.
Oh, sensitivity.
And he said he'd think about it.
No sensitivity for Confederates.
That's right. So about an hour later, or less than an hour later, the general manager called and asked him to take the flag down. And Baz said that it's not in his room contract to do that and refused to do that. And the next thing we know, the owner of the hotel comes storming in and basically, refuses to shake Baz's hand, refuses to sit down and talk to him, and says, take down the flag or go to jail. And those are his choices. And as Baz testified in his deposition, if the owner had been willing to sit down and at least discuss this in a gentlemanly manner, there's no reason this couldn't have been worked out.
Right.
According to the owner, he says his policy was that nothing goes in the window, that there's absolutely nothing allowed in the windows, whether it be a lady's stocking, a wall of beer cans, or any kind of flag. He says no policy because it's NASCAR town, and all these rednecks want to put everything in the windows, and we just don't allow that. But when asked under oath, well, tell us some instances where this happened,
right,
he couldn't name a single instance where this has been done.
Okay.
And I said, do you have a written policy? No. And of course, at the time when Baz was talking to him or being confronted by him, he said, I don't have to talk. I don't have to deal with this. I don't have to talk about this. Because, when asked if there was a written policy.
Right.
And he just said, take the flag down or go to jail. Baz's testimony was that the owner never asked him to leave the room. It was always take down the flag or go to jail. So the owner called the cops. The cops came. They were very professional. They tried to work it out, but the owner was agitated the whole time, and I was there. I saw the whole thing.
Right.
And Baz just decided, look, this has gone far enough. There's nothing in my room contract that says I have to take this flag down. I have the right to what's called quiet enjoyment. I'm not disturbing other guests. And at the deposition, the owner testified that he knew of no complaints. This was not about somebody being offended or offended by the flag.
Right.
This was not about somebody walking by and being struck dumb or blind because they saw a Confederate flag in the window.
This is like a prior restraint sort of thing.
Well, this was you're defying my authority, get out, you're going to jail.
Yeah.
That's what it was all about. This guy was agitated. He was mad because he was going to have dinner with his mother, and he was having to come and deal with this. Well, he didn't have to come deal with it. He didn't have to interject himself. That's why he was sued in his individual capacity, because he injected himself in something that should have been handled by the general manager peaceably. And there was no reason for anybody to be arrested over this. But anyway, Baz was told to leave the hotel and go with the officer and put him in a patrol car, and cited and released. Ruined the party. So the very next day, the reunion voted overwhelmingly to support Baz. And that fall, it went to trial. As a matter of fact, there was a hearing that Baz's attorney at the time, a guy named Chris McCartan from Concord, who actually happened to be the GOP chairman for Cabarrus County. He handled the criminal case, and the first hearing, the complaining witness, the owner, did not show up, and so the DA continued it. The second time, Baz comes all the way down to Concord, comes with me. We meet with Mr. McCartan. The owner fails to show up a second time, and the DA wants a continuance again. And we basically, McCartan got with the DA and said, "Look, this is ridiculous. Dismiss it." So it was dismissed. So the owner didn't care enough about what he was doing to inconvenience Baz to have to come down and spend $1,000 to defend this case. Didn't have the decency to call the DA and say, "I don't really want to pursue it." I mean, he could have done that, and saved Baz coming down all the way from Kentucky. And Lexington, Kentucky is about a 7-8 hour drive. Shortly after that, in December of 2008, Baz had quadruple bypass surgery, nearly died, and he was under a lot of stress. And I have to say that the stress of having to deal with this case in Concord would have to be part of the problem.
He's contributed.
Yeah. So we researched the issue, and we came up with two theories to go after the Wingate, and that is malicious prosecution, because they caused him to be arrested when there was no probable cause for his arrest. And under North Carolina law, if you're exonerated, if they dismiss the charges, that's considered prima facie evidence of lack of probable cause. And therefore, that's a prima facie case of malice. You've got to show malice.
So it's pretty much an open and shut case as far as the law goes.
As far as the law goes,
how did it work with the honorable judge?
Well, the other case, the other cause of action was a breach of contract, because obviously he didn't get to enjoy his room. He was kicked out by being arrested, and so there was a breach of contract case. The other side hired a slick lawyer, former prosecutor. And we got our good friend Jeff Mabrito to act as plaintiff's counsel. And they filed a motion to dismiss. This is a very common tactic among corporations trying to keep plaintiffs away from juries. You file a motion to dismiss. It's a extraordinary remedy. It's only used, or should only be used, in cases like somebody trying to sue the space alien, or trying to have a court declare that they're Elvis Presley. Things like that. I mean, really goofy stuff is what you're supposed to use the motion to dismiss to get rid of.
It's used all the time now.
Yeah, it's used way too much. It's just a way of getting rid of cases that
and it just adds more money to a case
because you go to a real court upstairs and they put it back if you've got a cause of action, and then it comes back down. So anyway, they had an hour and a half motion hearing on the motion to dismiss, and the judge dismissed the malicious prosecution, even though Baz met all the elements. Okay, and we see this a lot. I call it being hometowned. He's the out-of-towner. He comes in. You don't get a lot of justice. They're going to help the local boy, so they dismissed it. If you're serious, you'll go to the Court of Appeals. Well, and that costs more money. The SCV backed the case and paid for an appeal and went all the way to the Court of Appeals. And Baz smoked him at the Court of Appeals. Definitely malicious prosecution. Absolutely. The only thing that they dismissed completely was the breach of contract case against Joel Griffin, the owner, in his individual capacity. We still have a breach of contract with the hotel, but in his individual capacity, since he did not have any authorship in the contract itself. Okay, fine. We still have the malicious prosecution on all 4 points, so it goes back down, and now it's got to be set for trial. There's mandatory mediation, so in February, we went down to Concord for a mandatory mediation. And this might be a good place to stop because we still got a lot more to talk about. You need to become a member of the Southern Legal Resource Center if you're not already, $35 a year. And when we get into part 2, we'll finish this up.